actually 600 years old?
When did they say that?
Well, he said, I'm feeling a little anxious. It's been about 600 years.
Well,
So he would have to be more than 600
yeah, that's the
years.
last time he had sex was 600 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you think he actually was around during the Black Plague?
He seemed like he was being truthful about all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they didn't make him out to be a liar.
No, they didn't.
He didn't say anything that wasn't true.
Hey there. The VCR is keyed up. The pizza is on its way. Until it gets here, come sit with us by the movie light. I am Dr. Crisis, along with,
Mr. Dust.
And I am Melmut.
and today we'll be talking about underrated movies, or at least movies we feel are underrated. Movies we feel got the short shrift, as it were. Movies we feel got the boot. Movies we feel
Just a bum's rap.
Yeah, that's a good one. So we're going to start with Mr. Dust.
Hello.
Which movie do you think?
For
would you
me,
say?
I would like to talk about Lawnmower Man.
Something we had talked about previously.
Yes. And, of course, the horrible troubles it came into because it tried to act like Stephen King had inspired the film, which he absolutely did not. I've read that short story. They only share a name. They're nothing alike. And
How was the short story?
the short story was very strange. It's one of those things where a lot of times King will just write something that's it's a nightmare, and you're like, okay, well, wow, a nightmare, and then it's over. What if a nightmare happened in your life? So I thought it was very eerie and awkward and just fucked up. Yeah, but it had nothing to do with what was going on in the movie at all. So the movie itself, I think, was a classic depth of science fiction. It really told a story, because a lot of good science fiction, it's not that not always, but a lot of times with science fiction, the story doesn't have to necessarily be brand new. It's a story you're telling in your way, in your medium, about themes and humanity and what goes on and what we do to each other and how we progress and everything else. And Lawnmower Man, I think, of course, did that. And the two things that I would say that it borrowed off of, the biggest one, of course, was one of the first science fiction tales, Frankenstein, which is very, a lot of parallels between the two. And the other one, which I also would be considered science fiction, I imagine, would be Flowers for Algernon. Classic book. Made into a film called Charlie, named after the main character. I was joked years ago that the movie should have been called Flowers for Cyberstein because the connection between the two. And where the big thing was, they took those themes and they brought it into technology that was on the forefront at the time. Going into a world that you've created, VR.
Yeah.
And at that time, it's like, what is VR? Where are we going? How are we? And what can it do for the world? And, of course, the advent of computers becoming more a part of our lives, what we do at work, what we do at home. Of course, not to the level that it got to, but it was talking about that.
Yeah.
This is where these things are going to go. And coupled with VR, what are we going to be there that we're not here?
Yeah, the urban legend at the time, especially moving towards the end of the of the 90s, was that's the reason VR didn't make it into people's homes and didn't become bigger. Now it's making a comeback. I don't know if that's true. Of course, it was an urban legend. It was a myth at the time that single movie ended the run of VR.
I'd forgotten about
Now,
that.
I don't know if that's true.
Yes.
I do find it funny. I was talking to a youngin' the other day, and they were talking to me about VR and how there's just a new thing called VR. Look, you can't. I'm not insulting the person. It was fascinating. And I said, "Oh yeah, they had VR when I was a kid. Virtual reality, yeah, I know." And they said, "No, not like Sims, not like Sims."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were like, "No, you put it on." And this was a few years ago. I was like, "Yeah, I know what it is." She was in her early 20s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had him they had him at the beach. They still have him at the beach. I know what it is. You never saw Lawnmower Man? So anyway, but if anyone can confirm that, I don't know if it's true or not, but there was a fascinating, rumor anyway.
Yeah, for something that big to happen and then disappear, people of the generation that don't understand that that's what was going on. It was exciting and on the cusp. This is going to happen. And then it was like, oh, no, it's absolutely nowhere now.
Yeah.
And then it had to wait to come back. Some people guessed it was military. They wanted to look at its applications first. And then it was like, okay, we'll do whatever, and then we'll give it to the people.
Yeah. Like toothpaste.
Exactly like toothpaste and Tang, for Christ's sake.
Right.
Where would we be without it? And where would Lawnmower Man be without it as well?
Is Tang still a thing?
Yes.
It is, but not the way that we understood it.
It's a lot of different flavors now. Newfangled flavors.
and
What the
it
hell is
just- You
that?
can only get it in the worst of places.
Yeah, it's like really, it's been put where it belongs, I guess. You know, like 7-Eleven. You know, it's like that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
But only certain ones.
Oh, like our old neighborhood.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Exclusively to Nice Town.
Yes. Shout out to Tang and to Nice Town.
to Tang in Town. It's a weird thing. In the 80s, I guess in the 90s too, for you, growing up, there was two things that were standard things to eat and drink that we don't see as much anymore. Well, Tang and Kool-Aid
Yeah.
were huge, right? In
Yes.
the 80s, that's what you drank. And it was like top tier. Like you were going to a fancy restaurant if you could get some sloppy joes on your table.
Oh, fuck yeah.
That is not a thing anymore, is it?
You don't hear about Sloppy Joe's being a big
Some
thing.
manwich.
Manwich.
See what I'm saying?
That's still sold, and you got like the older people I've seen like eating up some manwich. You know, it's like it's still fancy dinner Tuesday. It's always Tuesday when I'm talking about these things. I mean,
Okay. Anyway, continue.
but again, going on to the ideas that what man can create, and also what people that are considered underdeveloped, what they could be with new technology. Is it just the mind? We're just a body that holds the mind. If we could hone the mind, what could we all be? And of course, that was seen in Flowers for Algernon, you know, the creation of new life, Frankenstein, and what they did with the movie, the character Job, who was a simple-minded, underdeveloped person, orphan, who was mowing lawns. And he happened to be mowing the lawn of a brilliant scientist who was failing when it came to this VR technology and enhancing the mind with animals, specifically chimpanzees. So he decides, this man who has nothing else to live for, let me see what I can do with his mind. That idea of the God complex, where you look at him and it's like, all right, this a brilliant man, so I can't be held. It's like, you're not really the hero of this story.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I can because it's my responsibility, it's my birthright to say I will further the world. And, of course, the technology of the time on the forefront, VR, computers. And to take this man and to jump him into a world he didn't understand is where the horror that you could do with science fiction came into it. It made it scary for him first, which I thought was so brilliant the way the movie was made. That the way it went from sadness to suspense of what was going on in the beginning. Like there was the whole sequence where the chimpanzee that was doing the best escaped the facility he was being used in, and he was so intelligent. He was opening up doors, shooting people. He was trained in gun, you know, all through his mind. He had all in marksmanship, and he meets this man, and he believes that he is a comic book character from something he'd been reading since he was a child, alone in a shed because he's being kept there by the local priest. So that right there, to him, he had just seen science fiction. He had just seen it actually be alive on his lawn. And that's where he came into it, where it went wrong for the scientist. He was introduced, Job, for that goddamn name to be what he was named. All of the pressures of the world, he had been abandoned by God under being taken care of by a priest. This is where we're at.
Right, but that's very interesting to think that also they touched on the idea that it is the most innocent and kindest of souls that when exposed to horrors of the world, because that was a part of the movie, him looking at the history of the planet and how chaotic, I believe that was the word, what was the word he used? I didn't never realize it was so chaotic. Is that what it was?
Yes.
Right. That's a fascinating and disturbing, it's an exploration of the idea when someone who's truly innocent and kind, their very nature, if they don't have kind of the shield of cynicism to stay sane, they become dangerous.
I
In
think
fact, it's a very
brilliant.
fascinating insight. Whether it's true or not, it's just an exploration, right? But that's something people have thought about. But I don't know if it's an official theory or anything, but it's an interesting thing to explore that idea. So
I think that's a brilliant observation, and where again the horror aspects of the movie come in, where you see Job go from when this scientist starts to do the same things to him that he was doing to the chimps. You see how he wants to clean up the world, clean up humans, and become the most horrific dictator in the sense that I will create a whole other world inside of VR, and I will be its absolute, not leader, but God. And of course, the famous line in the trailers, and everything, I am God here. It's like there's no one bigger than me.
Yeah.
Because, and you did this. I mean, you said to me, it's a fertile ground, so now I understand everything and I must change it. For him to say on the outside world, he did it to his mind, and then for VR to be added in to say, okay, now there's a world where I can apply it.
and again, some of the great, almost all of the great classic villains in film, and stretching beyond, have at the heart of what they're doing some good intentions,
Yes.
right? Because
Yes.
the most recent in that long line is Thanos. Of
course.
right? But that always makes them more compelling when
Fully agree.
yeah, when they have when you can go, you know what, I kind of understand what he's doing. You know?
Yes. And for a director, and it's I find myself annoyed that because I'm talking about an underrated film, I can't remember the director's name, which makes me sad. I will mention it at another point in time.
We will beat him later for this. I mean, the mercy will not be there.
I fear for my life. Job had it good compared to what I'm about to get. But and another thing that shocks you when you can direct a movie this way and tell a story in this manner, when Job becomes powerful, when he's able to use his mind to control things outside of VR in this world, and he goes on a rampage of destroying people that he felt hurt him or people close to him. You're rooting for him. You see him set a priest on fire, delete a man's mind and attack another abusive father with a lawnmower. And you're like, get him! And then you actually feel like, wow, I just applauded such acts of despicable violence, but these people needed to be eradicated. You're like, you're on Job's door. You're one of his soldiers for a second.
Yeah.
And then when he decides everyone's going to be switched in to the computer, and you go, look at what we are now, the prophetic nature of the film and the way it was done. We're all going to be linked in. He said that kind of stuff so many times in the film. We would all be linked into one reality, one voice, and it will be mine. And you could just say, yeah, what is that? What was his name? Google? Amazon? It's like, so for it to be that, with the mixture of prophetic storytelling and the acting. Jeff Fahey, who I'm not a fan of, I think he's very generic, sort of. I'm the bad guy. He had really neat-looking eyes, and that seemed to just ride his career onto whatever.
Yeah.
His performance as Job is heartbreaking and lovable, and you want to protect him. And then his transference into Job the God. Wait, no, transference is not the right word.
Transformation, I think.
Transformation. Another beating's coming my way. Transformation. Thank you. Into Job the God was truly horrifying, and you believed each person separately, but you also understood the transition. You saw it happen organically.
And of course, the ending.
No, it's for them to actually do that, because I'm going to ruin it here. But
Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, don't listen now.
where Job leaves his body, his existence exists only. He only exists now. His whole essence inside computers, inside the world, the VR world. He's left himself behind. He's trying to tap into the system on a worldwide scale. They try and, of course, the people, the scientists, I've made a mistake, Job, and they're going in there and they stop him. They blow up the facility he's in. And you don't see the tension of the scene. he's in this world and he is trying to get into the system. He's been locked out, and it's him. And the way they have it built, he's this huge figure with Job's face. And the CGI in it is the best they could do at the time, but it holds up because it's creepy. It is strange, and it is what was at the time. That's what it would have looked like then. It doesn't need to look any more real than that because that's what it was.
Yeah.
But he's this big figure with his face, and these hallways are coming up, and he's playing with these little instruments inside of them, trying to open it up. Access denied, access denied, access denied. And the building of where he's trying, and then right before these bombs go off, access granted. And he's starting to go in to be a part, to rule the system. And then everything fucking blows up. And then you remember, earlier in the film, he told the doctor his plan and said, my birth cry will be the ringing of every phone on Earth at the same time. And then you're like, Job got blown up. Access granted too damn late. Then they got, the professor and some orphan kid and everyone who, the mother of the father that he killed with a lawnmower, and everyone's happy. And they found each other, and everything's going to go off, And the phone starts ringing before they go. Then they pull out to the neighborhood, pull out to the city, pull out to the world. He did it. And then what is he going to do now? Become Google and Amazon.
So that actually happened is what you're saying.
He did it. Yeah. And again, to look at it now, it's like, yeah, we're all wired in.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great movie. Beautifully acted, beautifully executed, wonderful pacing, horror elements. It was great science fiction.
Real quick, before we... what is science fiction?
I'm going to put that over to Crisis if you want to answer
Oh,
that.
I don't know. I don't know the official definition. I mean, I agree with those that say that Star Wars is not science fiction.
Yeah.
I would agree
Including
with
George
that.
Lucas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a loose definition. What it's not, I'll tell you what it's not. Can I do that?
Sure.
Yeah. I'll tell you what it's not. It's not taking moonlighting and putting it on the moon, right? The old show from the 80s with, who are those people? Bruce Willis and the incomparable Sybil Shepherd, is that what it is? The legendary, forever famous. Anyway, it's not that. It's not taking a common, ridiculous element and putting it in space. Right? Far too many people consider that science fiction. Right? If you're not exploring deep understanding of our reality, and I mean exploring in the explorer sense. You're pushing beyond what you know the best you can. Right? I understand commentary. Of course, Twilight Zone did that. To incredible effect, where they took actual social issues and put them in fantastical situations to make commentary on those issues, right? There's one of the few people that did it without it being a fucking hammer, though, right? It was skillfully done, and it wasn't the only thing they did, right? So what it's not is it's also not. It is the precise opposite of what I have a problem with a lot of modern science fiction, where it's people basically looking at their own asshole and writing about it. Look above and beyond yourself. I feel like modern science fiction has become more geocentric, homocentric, or I don't know if that's the correct word. I don't know what's human-centric. Just say that.
Yeah.
Instead of looking beyond us and other possibilities. But no, I haven't seen Black Mirror. I hear that holds up really well. Black Mirror is the true successor to Twilight Zone.
It is. But it's weird when I have watched them, and if I talk to young people, and again, we're not trying to trash young people. It's been brought up a few times.
Oh, absolutely.
It's episodes of the show that's okay. Yeah, I saw them tackle that in Twilight Zone 20 years ago.
Right.
So it's a lot of that where they're doing it now. But again, like I've said already earlier, science fiction is a lot of it's stories, but putting it into what's happening now.
Yeah.
And I think a few of them really have jumped at the what are we experiencing now with technology and how we relate to each other, and what would this mean? What would this topic do into this world? And I think it has had very good episodes. I didn't watch the whole series though. Yeah.
Imagine, if you will, that I already wrote all of these, and you're a bunch of fucking posers. So yeah. I mean that's my Yeah.
Yeah, because I wanted to get that out there. Because I was one of those people. It's like, it's a ray gun. It's science fiction. So, it's through conversations with guys like you and guys
I'm
like
not,
me.
this isn't about, of course, this is not about, judging other people. It's not
Oh,
about,
no.
Absolutely not.
It's just although I do think some modern authors, especially science fiction books, need to stop it. They really need to.
Yeah.
If you're not, I just, So, yeah. Okay.
Who are you?
So what now? What?
So that was my complete.
I'm the man that started everything.
My God.
I am. I'm Old Man Movie. And I wrote them all, daggone it. Carn the Sarnet and Dag the Nabbit.
Oh, God.
So that's what. I don't know where those people come from.
So that is the first one for something I think was highly overrated for external factors, and for other people like this magical factor. Just pay attention.
I don't know what that was. Who was that?
That was somebody who doesn't understand things. I'm tired of those kind of like the geek thing. There's two different definitions. I think there's many different definitions for anything, but the geek where it's not like a person with glasses has a thing, has an inhaler and stuff like.
Well,
I'm
you
not
have
saying,
an inhaler.
I had an inhaler.
Right.
I was misdiagnosed.
Right, yeah, okay.
But the thing is, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying people that harp and obsess over things because they think they're supposed to. That's what I mean when I say the geeks that ruin these things. Everyone said the special effects look weird. It did. That's what's wrong with it. It's like, stop. Look at it for yourself. What do you think of it?
No, what we're talking about, everyone gets to have their own opinion. Right?
Of course.
When you cross that line and start being aggressive towards anyone else because of their opinion.
And
right.
And when it's not your opinion, it's just what you think you're supposed to think of something.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a larger issue that
Yeah. And I just hate when that happens because you see it happen a lot with stuff like this.
Yeah.
Where you're told, I gotta hate
But
something
some people,
like it.
it's a hard one. Some people are passionate, but there's a line that's a whole other thing. The difference between passionate and we can get into and just being an asshole and being,
just
being
like I'm a part of this. So this is my identity.
and
It's
being
like,
a conversational bully. There's a difference between
Yeah.
those two things.
and who told you to think that is another thing.
Right.
Can you think for yourself? I hate was like, did you see that movie? Yeah, and that person just acted like they always act in this other movie, like they don't have any feel. It's like, who told you to say that?
All right.
You can feel that way, honestly.
Right.
But a lot of times I can tell you read that and you feel like you have to think that.
Here's a very fascinating part of it. It's because it's not an important issue that it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Right. But it becomes a problem when you claim to be an expert on something
Yes.
and you're doing that.
Yes.
When you claim you understand movies and you're doing that, when you're just parroting what you've heard, or what I usually call it relay thinking, because
Thank you.
when you relay information from one thing to the other, what you're relaying it to doesn't take in that information; it's passing on that information. But hey, again, I don't want to get too much into like I hate you.
And I agree. I just I just want people to please just have your own opinion. Don't parrot someone else's opinion because you think you have to.
Right.
Even if other people are like,
some of
well,
that's
you're
just
not.
conversational, though. Again, when it's not dangerous, but some of it's just people trying to make conversation.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, when it becomes I know about it because
But it gets uncomfortable, right? Again, I don't want to but it does get uncomfortable. It gets uncomfortable. The weirdest part is when, for me, I get uncomfortable when people have an opinion, and I'm fine with their opinion, and then I tell them mine, and then they immediately switch to mine
yes.
because
Yeah.
I don't
then
want
it's like
that.
I don't want you not to switch to mine.
Yes.
I do want your authentic opinion.
That's the word.
Yeah.
Where it's a shame that
So we got into some serious topics there.
we did.
We apologize for that.
Me too.
Science fiction made us do it.
Oh, man.
Okay, so do we
So,
have
okay,
another film
so,
that
right.
another one of us feels was overachieved? That was underrated. Not
Okay.
over. Underrated is the word.
Submitted for your approval. I'm going to, what was the Matrix? Matrix.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I thought you were
You
going
gotta
to do
do
that another
your
time.
whole review like that.
Submitted for your approval. I'm going to, I can't, damn it, I can't. He seems like he has to be scripted because what he wrote was so amazing.
Yeah.
But I can't just talk that way. Let me see if I can try one more time. Because once you say submitted for your approval, you can't just talk normal, right? I mean, imagine if he walked around all the time doing that. Picture, if you will, you cooking me eggs and ham for dinner. You know?
That's how he is. Yeah.
Is that what you want, Rod?
Submitted for your approval. I'd like some time in this sack.
Oh,
Picture,
being
if
romantic.
you will. Yeah, going to like a store. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Picture, if you will, me buying a pack of cigarettes, you know, and you
Okay,
giving me the
Ron.
correct change, you know. Yeah. So then there's the '80s. Then there's the '80s thing.
80s.
Well, him doing '80s. I told you that. Right?
What, him doing 80s sitcoms?
Him. Yeah. This is doing Rod Serling doing
Yes.
'80s sitcoms.
Yes.
Yeah. Submitted for your approval. 4 elderly women sharing a house in Florida. One dim of wit, another manly in nature, a third a common harlot, a fourth something akin to a female Italian leprechaun. They are golden girls. That would be
It sounds so much more interesting now. Although,
getting him to introduce.
yes,
Yeah.
the hold that has on certain generation, I believe,
What,
ours,
Golden Girls?
it is
It's-
undeniable.
yeah.
Where there was a time there where I had to watch it all the time. Yeah,
It was He-Man and Golden Girls. I mean,
that's the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when that came back on, you guys ruined the Jackie Chan fucking marathon. We're like, no, gotta watch Golden Girls. You already watched 2
I
Jackie
know
Chan
we had a
movies.
problem. We had a problem.
Had to watch
problem.
Golden. We found that it was playing like 4 of them a night on some channel. We're like,
Yeah.
can I get into
We had a
that?
problem.
Yes, absolute problem.
We were teenage boys.
needed
Needed
to get
that
our
Golden
dose.
Girls. Yeah. Picture, if you will, a homeless Italian ignoramus and his teenage daughter. They find themselves on the front steps of a snobby, bony white woman. She quickly hires him to be the cook and the maid, and the entire time one question hangs over their heads and burns in their minds. Who is the boss? That's another one.
One that just you can't watch at all. You know, I would never go back and get anywhere near that show.
His name, Balky Bartokinus. He's come to this country seeking his kin, one cousin Larry. They will have plenty of laughs, share adventures, but for now they remain perfect strangers. That would be a good one, you know.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was working on. We never worked it out completely. She thought it was a really funny idea. Shout out to you. Shout.
Let it all out.
Shout it. So, okay, again, if you get that, we're going to send you a pack of golden beans. What is that from? Shout it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm probably way too loud, and you turned us off, and you're calling the police right now. There's another. We were talking about Different Strokes, and if you remember Different Strokes, by the end of it, they were doing the most horrendous things to the children just for ratings. They were getting kidnapped. They were being.
I remember this.
They were kidnapped once a week.
It was getting bad.
Yeah. There was a point where 2 of them were kidnapped at the same time because Kimberly's professor wanted her to dress up and dance for her. It got to like Hannibal Lecter level.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Because I thought it started off with some of those things, with like being, afraid of.
No, it started off as just, it was, the novelty of a rich white man,
Yeah.
adopting, 2 black kids and hanging out with the white chick, that was the novelty of it. Then they added a new kid because they always do that when the ratings start going down, and then kidnappings had to happen.
Just all day.
So because of that, that one was picture, if you will, a place where kidnappings are as common as Sunday dinner. That was the other. And we worked on the rest of it. I don't remember what the Different Strokes.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that. We're going to reinvent all of the 80s sitcoms or 70s and 80s sitcoms.
Yeah.
Robert Serling opening and closing. That wasn't my best impression of Robert Serling because I'm sitting like a fuckerhead. I'm one of those, peckerheads that sit wrong. It's a condition. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, what the hell were we talking about?
Underrated films.
We're going to get fired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, underrated films. Yeah. Oh, okay. So there's been a lot of hoo-ha and peepaw about the Matrix and the Matrix sequels, right? So we're here to defend. Look, we're defenders. That's what we are. We're defenders of good movies. We are the movie defenders. Yeah. Okay. I think that'll be a regular thing. We are the movie defenders. Why are we getting claps for that?
It's the crowd outside of the
our
town
Hall
hall.
of Justice.
Our hall of movie defension?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did I say defension?
Defensions?
That's it. It is now.
Yes.
Great.
I am Dr. Crisis, the movie defender.
I am Mr. Dust, the movie Avenger.
Very good.
Oh, man, you put me on the spot.
He is Melmoth. He's on the spot. He's on that spot, getting it done.
I'm getting it done.
All right. So I would like to defend the sequels to The Matrix. I understand the initial reaction to them because tonally it changed slightly, right? And also the complexity. They added a lot of characters that were in the first one, that were not in the first one. They added a lot of elements that were not in the first one, and it seemed it threw a lot of people because there was an expectation of where the sequels were going to go, and it seemed like somehow they were reinventing it. Now, I would attribute that to the fact that like many movies, they weren't told they could make an entire trilogy. They were just told to make the first one and see what happened. So the first one is a complete movie, right? It doesn't need a sequel. So that's a hard place to start. But I would defend the second two. And I would say that people missed a lot of the underlining themes in the movie. And of course, I could be totally wrong. Right? This is just my view when watching the movies and what I saw. One of the things I think people missed was what they were saying, or who they were saying, or what, depending on how you view it. What Smith represented, I'll put it that way. What Smith really represented as a character. I thought people kind of glossed over that and didn't look deeply into what they were saying with his character, what he represented. And it was pure, naked aggression. It was someone who it was the feeling that even further than that, Smith represented the need to conquer other people. And that often manifests in being unable to accept other people's opinions to the point you can't accept their existence. Look at what happened. He wound up taking over the entire Matrix, and everything was him, right? So this is what his character represented, someone who was intolerant of others. He could not handle humanity. I mean, even in the first one, they addressed that when he says he couldn't handle the Matrix because of the smell. He couldn't handle something that wasn't him. He couldn't handle being uncomfortable. So that's what he represented in the movie, if you follow the line of it.
Yeah.
Right? So I thought that was a brilliant character to represent. It was a brilliant way of representing it, though, everything they put into that character, right? The other, so that's something, I'm just saying that's something I think a lot of people missed. Also, they missed the connection. Let's talk about the lead, the head machine, right?
Yeah.
The head machine. What that looked like. The fact that they chose a baby face, that this head machine had the face of a baby, meant so much that this what we were seeing as an evil creature the entire time was actually something new, something innocent that didn't quite understand what it was doing, that didn't quite understand the consequences of its actions. I thought that was a brilliant aspect too. It had an incredible depth to it, I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was the interconnectedness between all things. Of course, that was obvious in the movie, and why Neo could affect things outside of the Matrix all of a sudden. That was fantastic. Yeah. So these are some of the themes I thought they missed. People that didn't understand what they were doing in the movie, and then of course there was the other part of it that how technology can get away from people, right? So the machines got away from humans. We built them. They got away from us. They wound up taking over. Damned if the Smith didn't represent that same thing. They created Smith in the Matrix. He got away from them. He started to take over. Right? Yeah. It was great to see them circle that back around. You had a human in Neo talking to the machine, this baby-faced machine, and they had a common problem, which is their hubris and their ignorance allowed their brilliance, their intellectual brilliance, to destroy them. Right? Yeah. You dig?
Absolutely.
You dig on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, I said it at the time. I think we talked about this many times. It's a living. If you like anime, I don't understand how you can't like the second and third one. They're as close to live action animes as you can possibly get. When he's around those lands, and what about even the way the robots were? They were evolving and creating real life. When he walked through that one place, and all the bugs started to, and then they of course created the face of the baby. But why bugs? Why was that happening?
Yeah.
You know. And on top of that, the deeper things they commented on as far as human freedoms. One of the great lines I feel in science fiction history is, of course, that rant that the great Hugo Weaving goes on, and ends with why do you persist? Do you even know that whole thing? Him really losing it, and that alone was fascinating. That he really wanted to know now. Through all of that, he needed to know. And then, of course, one of the more perfect comebacks, which was because I choose to. Choice itself is a human prerogative. It's all prerogative. All free humans' prerogative. Choice. Because I choose to resist you.
So, if I could ask, what they were saying with Smith when he said he wanted to thank Neo for setting him free.
Yeah.
But the idea that he hadn't learned anything from being set free, what were they saying with that? Like, if you don't change your mind and you're set free from your, like, he was being set free from what?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if that was just dramatic. It was just a dramatic aspect to it. It was just stylistic and what's the word? I can't think of the word. I can't find the word I'm looking for right now. If it was just a way to, it was just a way to get people invested in that scene. Just a dramatic line is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but it does seem to fit to what you were saying, to someone who doesn't accept things that are not them, and now he's free to do whatever he wants.
Right, I mean...
And he still chooses to take over everybody and make him in his own image.
Right, exactly. Right, there is no freedom for him unless he's everything. There is no freedom for that kind of intolerance unless they are everything. Because that's a very point. That's the whole idea. No matter who's intolerant, that's the point of intolerance. You cannot exist if this exists. You are now intolerant. And I think that's what they were representing there. He was the very picture. He was the personification of intolerance.
And you would say that he became the villain over any other machine or the Matrix itself.
So yeah, they showed that. Yeah. They showed that. And of course, people. I would like people to go back and look at all this and tell me I could be wrong, but that's just my view of it. And I love the character of the architect as well. That the Matrix was the mind of the machines. It was their mind, right? So everything in it had a representation of an individual's mind, emotions, thoughts, particular thoughts, right? So the architect in the second one represented the idea to create the Matrix. He was in the mind of the machines. Do you mean? Yeah. All of the Matrix was just you were in the mind of the machines. And you were watching their psyche play out through these characters, the machine's mind. And of course, then this is where the theme of interconnectedness comes in. Our psyches, that we were not different from them. You know, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I thought that was brilliant too. And of course, tying that all back to the continuing theme, know thyself, going back to that, know thyself. I really would love for people to rewatch the second and third one and clear their minds of the first one. Not that the first one, of course, is a great movie, but clear their minds of the first one. And just view them anew. You know, view them as, even if you need to separate them from the first one, I understand that, but view them as one movie, because they continue one right into the other. So yeah, I am definitely a defender. I am Dr. Crisis, the defender of the sequels to The Matrix. I don't know why now that's happening. I definitely defend the brilliance. I use that word far too damn much. The artistic legitimacy, let's just say that, of the sequels, and how deep they really went. Yeah.
I have 3 questions if you want to answer them about your defense.
Do I get to cross the bridge if I do?
Hey, man, we'll see how that goes. I might just need to eat someone's bones.
You just have one of those days.
Hey, man, you got to be the troll under the bridge.
You gotta get a car and put that as like a bumper sticker on the back. Hey, sometimes you need to stroll under the bridge.
Answer it right or not, I don't care. Have you seen The Animatrix?
I have not.
Okay, that's the first question. And you answered it wrong. Do you think...
Give me those bones.
The bones. Do you think that the first one would have been drastically different if they knew they could make 3 at one time?
I personally do, yes.
Are you excited at all for the 4th one?
No.
Okay.
It is a complete story. And with the way the world's going now, I don't know if there's any reason to make this movie. And I just don't see what it's going to be besides yelling at people.
Okay.
The first one was all about humans, period. It was about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Make my day.
Who's that?
No, I just want someone to make my day. You can cross the bridge. Asshole.
So yeah, that's my defense of the sequels to The Matrix, and I would love to. I would love for people to go back and watch them. And thank you very much. If we hadn't have done that so much, then that would be more effective.
It would, but it's still from the heart.
Yeah. From the heart of that machine, very much like The Matrix.
No, the audience. What the hell are you doing?
Don't ruin the illusion.
Still coming from my pants.
So if I think of it, because I thought there was more to that, but I'll have to think of. If I think of it, I'll just start yelling at like a crazy old man.
I understand. And does Malmut have any movie or anything he'd like to defend, or any comments on these subjects?
I can't think of a movie I want to defend, because like I'm kind of easy sometimes to at least entertain.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but I mean, I have movies that I think are great and movies that I think suck. You know what I mean? I have, criteria. I'm not just like, But I'm not really in the loop as far as, what's overrated or underrated. You know what I mean? I'm not educated. No. I feel that I have movies that need like everybody to know about. And I guess it's the same thing though, right? I don't know. Like, I guess great movies that are cult classics for me. I don't want them to be even though cult classic is a great thing. You know, I just want them to everyone. Everywhere to love them. You know what I mean?
So it's about just raising awareness of any movie, even if a small group of people love it. It's like everyone needs to love it.
Yeah, like Big Trouble in Little China,
which is beloved.
Yeah, people love that movie. Everyone should love that movie.
Yeah,
it's great.
It should be mandated.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And I guess I don't know if this has a cult following or what it is, but Harry and the Hendersons. That is such a beautiful film. everyone in this room is a lover of peace for all creatures,
Yes, absolutely.
and especially animals,
Oh, yes.
So
Absolutely.
they were having that conversation, They were aware that it was a conversation. Isn't that nice? And people are aware that things need to be talked about, like,
Yes.
and that humans are complicated. People, aren't always, it's just like, oh, that guy's a jerk because he does this or doesn't do that, It's like, no, people are complicated. Let's talk about it,
Yeah.
That's what it was. If you look at what they were, I thought it was so brilliant. One of the big things in the film for me was the passing down of things and not knowing your children. You know what I mean? I begged him all, what was it, autumn or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
For a set of paints. And what did he get me? A BB gun, Then you stop there. You're like, wow, that really sucks, man. He's not in touch.
Well, it's sort of like people putting importance in tradition and culture over the individual.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And
This is my child. Let's see who they are.
Yeah.
Let me not tell them who they are. Let me see who they are.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
exactly. And then he, like you got Ernie. What's his name? What was his name? Bernie.
Oh yeah, the characters.
Sandry.
Yeah, it was Ernie. He got
His son. He got
guy.
his son the same thing. And then, Gwyneth Paltrow. What's his name?
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow, yeah.
The movie's about a hunter who finds, if you haven't seen it, about who finds a Sasquatch,
Yeah.
and he ends up getting
Sasquatch.
involved. Sasquatch. He ends up getting involved in
Sasquatch.
their life.
Yeah. And he remembers through Sasquatch.
Sasquatch.
It's just plain interruption.
He remembers who he was.
That was in the movie, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the Matrix, so he's just all jokes.
That's not fair, even slightly. You
just
guys could have made whatever joke you wanted to. You fucking
But we
fart.
didn't because we had
You are a
we had respect.
You
and
are
dignity.
living fart.
My God. No,
You made any jokes you wanted to, and you know it.
And we didn't, out of respect.
Respect. This ain't a place for respect. What are you talking? Get with it. Get hip with the tip, man.
So you talk about a Sasquatch. He's all up in here.
What?
Sasquatch.
It's all about peeing, right?
I said talk about a Sasquatch.
he's just hearing anything he wants to hear now.
Why do I got to? Why do I got to be the jerk? Why does that happen?
Hey, we all
Hey,
get
man.
our turn being the jerk.
Yeah. Well, mostly it's your turn, I guess, right?
Is that how it goes?
Yeah. Yeah. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
We don't even have to be in the room. He'd be doing this anyway.
so through, so he named the Sasquatch guy Harry. And so through Harry, he remembered who he was. He remembered that what he valued and how he passed on what his father made him value onto his kids. And it was about, number one, remembering your individuality. And like, the doctor said, Mr. Doctor, Dr. Crisis, like he said, letting your children be individuals. And also it was a conversation about treating animals as equals, or if you're not going to help them, at least don't hurt them, and that's such a wonderful message. And that's why, partly because of the message I wanted out there for everyone to know about and love, but just how well the film was done. The caliber of actors, in John Lithgow and Kevin Peter Hall,
Yes.
who played Harry, God bless him. Yeah, I just thought I thought it got you to think and have discussions without being preachy,
Yeah.
And the music was fantastic, and and that day,
but even more fundamental than respect directly, just treating animals as your equals. Because of course you could discuss that and argue it.
Yeah.
This is a person that's been a vegetarian for what 25 years. Yeah, something like that.
that's a long
yeah,
time.
24 years.
Nice.
And I'm doing it for my health. Tell you that much.
My health proves it.
But just a simple statement about compassion. That's all.
Yeah.
Just a simple statement about compassion, because this is not about anti-hunting, anti-hunting, all of that. Just a simple statement about compassion for other living creatures.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you are a hunter, which I know I don't talk too much about that, but a lot of the hunters I know are actually very compassionate, even
Yeah.
towards the people. So this isn't
Same
about
here.
that. Yeah. So, but on the
think
most
that's
fundamental level, just changing your view that these are, anyone, just more compassion.
Yeah.
Just think a little bit more about compassion toward living creatures. That's all.
Yeah, and the
Except
fact
for
that
if they're roaches. It's no holds damn barred on those motherfuckers.
Because evil can be dealt with.
Yeah, it has to be eradicated. Is that
At
right?
its source.
Is this from a movie, or are we just going?
I think we're just speaking
we
truth.
just created a movie.
Yeah, we created truth.
The devil
What
and
is truth?
The roaches are from the devil. That's
that's the truth.
Yeah.
They are
Centipedes.
anti-traps. No, I actually
Centipedes.
I don't want them in my house, but I'm not gonna.
no. I'm not
yeah.
advocating torturing or destroying anything
Absolutely
except
not.
for roaches. No, you have to understand that we are as versed in any entomologist on the planet in the habits of roaches
Yeah.
because we grew up with them.
Being our
That we
basically
had,
our
what?
cousins.
Yeah,
Thousands upon thousands of them living in our house. You've never seen
yeah.
the likes.
I've never seen the likes
Yeah.
of
Thank you,
which.
George.
Thank you, George. In the words of another colleague of ours, they were crawly bugs, is what they were.
Yeah,
They were the most vicious of crawly bugs.
Yes. Yes. Just terrible.
So, yeah.
and but
Infestation is never fun.
There's another bumper sticker you brought.
but yeah, unless it's of cats. I love infestation.
Which,
of
of
cats.
course, can become very hard.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah, but
Well,
it is
yeah,
much
but
more
that's much
durable.
more fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But incredibly frustrating if they're stealing your food and attacking your feet at night.
Yeah,
Yes, which also probably because they were angry that we had roaches.
yeah.
Get rid of these roaches.
Why didn't they get rid of the roaches?
Yeah, 'cause they were lazy.
I tell you something. The people out there who don't know us. I tell you the kind of thing that we did for fun. When you have no money, what you do for fun is this: you catch roaches, take them into the backyard, and throw them into spider webs to watch the spider eat them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good times for all.
Good times and nice town.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we should have a whole section called "Good Times in Nice Town."
Yeah,
Remember the time we
man.
were outside like a bunch of fucking white trash morons that we were, little kids watching the ants take take maggots because we hated maggots.
Oh, yeah,
'cause
of
they were
course.
so gross, and then they'd get in our food. Of course,
Yes.
that would happen.
Yeah.
I think I ate a whole bowl of maggots once. That's a whole other thing by accident.
I remember that.
Yeah. People are probably saying that's the dumbest human being of all time. It's more complicated than that. We thought it was just really old checks we got from the local
Food bank.
food bank, right?
Yeah.
Which was an old woman that sold us excess cereal that she bought on for money. Was the food bank quotation marks?
Who's that? Oh, don't say the
I
name.
don't remember
but-
her name. She's
I don't
long-
remember that. I
long,
thought that
long
was
dead.
from the inn, San Francisco.
No, I think a lot of the cereal at that time we would go down to a woman who lived a couple blocks
Yeah.
away. She would buy it in bulk, and most of the time it was old and it was stale. But we would give her either food stamps or whatever small money, and she would give us cereal like at a discount rate.
Oh well, I guess she was
Trying to get
she
it.
was hustling there.
Hey man, you gotta get your
Yeah.
nut. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the problem was I wound up eating a whole bowl of maggots.
That is a problem.
And I thought they were just bashed up checks. So until the very end that I started to realize that they had little black heads on them.
Yeah.
That happened. But we were out in the backyard. You remember that? We were out in the backyard just watching the ants take away the maggots and cheering like it was the fucking
do.
like the Thanksgiving Day parade or something like that. We were like
remember
had
that.
flags and Man, we were bored.
And poor.
And depressed.
Anyway,
Yeah. So the compassion thing.
yeah.
That's actually a great point because I forgot about the scene where Harry was showing,
Yep.
teaching once again. I have to teach
Yes.
compassion. There's a great scene at the end where the guy who's been hunting Harry, for decades, comes upon him, and they're having it out, and John Lithgow, who's taking care of Harry, stops the whole everything and stuff. No, I'm not summarizing that well, but anyway.
So stuff happened, and then more stuff happened for about 2 hours.
For about 2 hours.
I thought it reached a crescendo of good stuff, and then this good stuff stopped.
And then they said that the good stuff was over.
Yeah.
And I had to leave the dark house. That's not fair to me.
And John Lithgow's getting really angry at the hunter, and he's about to jack him up, and then Harry breaks them up, and
You won't kill him!
yeah.
I'll kill you first! Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
You're not gonna hit. You're not
that's
gonna
right,
kill him. You're not gonna hurt him. I won't let you. I'll kill you first. It's like he had it with this whole thing.
Yeah.
It just all came pouring out of him, and Harry had to remind him, "No, that's not the answer." You know?
Have I taught you nothing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Compassion is
God.
the answer. Compassion.
Yeah.
Very good. Any others we want to quickly?
I think we did a good job.
All right. Oh, Showgirls. That's one.
That is one that you definitely wanted to talk about. Yes.
Yeah, another time.
I think that's a good idea. Another time.
Okay. Another time?
Another time.
Why not?
I don't know. We've been
We can
on
do just
here
a quick.
for some
no,
time.
Do a quick. It's not that big a deal.
Oh, that's fine.
You can go to hell.
I actually find this very interesting. I didn't want it to
Have
be
you seen it?
I have not.
Have you seen it?
No.
I didn't want it to be tacked on to the end of an episode.
No, it's not that. We got plenty of time. It's our damn microphone,
This is true.
Yeah.
and you're gonna listen. That was too loud.
That hurt my head.
I win in the end. Win in the end. We're gonna win the end.
If you could tell us
If you can tell us that's from, you'll get a package of golden beans.
I wonder if Malmut knows what it's from.
No, I have no idea.
You don't?
No.
Okay, how about this? You're the best around.
Oh yeah.
And everyone knows that now because of the advent
Oh,
of
they can go to hell. No.
get home.
Yeah.
Get all the way home.
I'm there.
No, fun.
No, Showgirls. I thought people completely missed the point of that movie.
And I have not seen it.
Oh, then.
I remember very much wanting to see it, of course, for boobies. I was young when it came out. And that's what I heard it was. I'm like, okay, so...
It pretends to be that. That's the whole point. Like we talked before, Paul Verhoeven made an entire career out of taking subjects that no one thought you could make a great movie out of, and damned if he didn't make a great movie out of. Not only a great movie, he had a commentary on top of that.
Yeah.
That movie is raw experience. It's what I thought Moulin Rouge was trying to be. We'll get into
Wow,
that
I can't believe we
into
breached
another-
that subject in this way.
Yeah. We're gonna
Bravo,
get to that.
sir. Bravo.
We're gonna get to that in another. It was just raw animal living, right? That's what the movie was. And you thought, what's the point of all of this, right? That alone is entertaining, right? Just raw animal living, raw animal enjoyment, entertainment, instincts, just all of it, right? But he does something very fascinating. While you're watching the movie, well, of course, what else would you be doing? Throughout the movie, that's what I should have said. She has a friend who keeps talking about this rock star, and they keep showing pictures of the rock star, and she can't wait to meet this rock star. She's in love with this rock star, right? And you're watching all the insanity go on with being a stripper, and all the backbiting, all the pettiness and the violence, even. But he keeps it on a level that this is all somehow living. It's all fun. It's all part of the game, you know. So then, towards the end of the movie, her friend meets this rock star. She's giddy. She's happy. Can't believe she's meeting this rock star. They go back to his room. They get back to his room. She's brutally and horrifyingly raped. He did that on damn purpose. He made you think this was all a big game until that moment, and he foreshadowed it throughout the whole movie. That Elizabeth, what was her name?
Banks. No.
Nope.
It's not Hurley either.
The main character,
It's like Berkeley or something.
we'll go with that.
Okay.
It's not David Berkeley. That would be a whole different movie.
I'm still interested.
Yeah. Oh, am I ever interested? She, on some level, still saw this all as a game, as all as life, as all as living. This animal, fun, living instinct. Even the backbiting, even the backstabbing, seemed like part of a larger game, right? Until that happened, and the brutal reality of what that world could be came home, and she winds up beating the hell out of that guy. I think that's the one place I think he backed off. You have to have her kill him, in my opinion, to end that movie correctly.
Yeah.
You have to have her cross that line and make it as real as possible. I don't know if he was trying to say that even she wouldn't cross the line, that she was a good person. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there was a fascinating scene at the end of the movie where the person that she'd been fighting through, the other stripper that she'd been fighting through throughout the whole, the other dancer, Gina Gershon, who she even pushed down the steps at one point and is now in a hospital bed because she pushed her down. So she's going to say goodbye to her. And the scene is absolutely fantastic because of its subtlety. They finally are friends with each other, but unspoken. Now because she now understands what she's been going through for 20 years, being in this world. And for the first time in the movie, she reaches down and they kiss each other. They kiss each other goodbye. She's leaving. She's leaving the world. And it's something very subtle. Gina Gershon reaches up and touches her face while they're kissing. And David Brinkley takes her hand off her face very adamantly. You're not dragging me back in. It was really this wonderful, subtle little thing they did. I'm saying goodbye to you. I'm not staying, And then she leaves. So I understood why people couldn't see all that. But I think those that couldn't see all that were too hyped up by all of the subject matter to look deeper into what Verhoeven was doing with the subject matter. That's often the problem. It's the same thing with RoboCop and Starship Troopers. The level of violence in those movies made people not look deeper because it is emotional, right? All that stuff startles you in many different ways, so you're not looking at the deeper meaning behind it all. But that's the difference between a filmmaker who is a great filmmaker and is using the art and someone who is just using sex and violence just for the emotional reaction you have.
Yeah.
That's between art and entertainment to a certain level. I'm not saying there's anything bad with that. You're like, okay, here's some boobies and some guns. Have a good time. Like that's great. That's fine. That's entertainment. But I think sometimes people that get a lot of credit for being great filmmakers, I'm not going to say any names. I'm looking at you, Scorsese. I don't know. I haven't watched all of his movies, to be honest. So I'm not going to be. But sometimes shock just for shock is irrelevant to me. It's why I think Untouchables holds up as a great movie, because nothing they did in that movie was just to shock you. It served the story. Blowing up that little girl at the beginning of the movie served the story. They were going to show you within the first 5 minutes how horrible these people were.
Yeah.
You dig?
Yeah.
Now you dig
Fuck
that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But just doing it for its own sake, I don't really care.
Do you think people like Verhoeven,
Yeah.
and on another scale, I think some correlation, people like Lynch,
Yeah.
David Lynch, that they go for this melodramatic performances and even bad actors hurts their purpose or it helps their purpose?
I have a very simple answer to that. Sasquatch. And on that note, let's
Not getting any more out of that, ladies and gentlemen.
So, recast. Let's recast something. Can we? Let's recast Lawnmower Man. Let's recast Lawnmower Man.
Okay.
Who could do those two roles today?
It's hard not to. I mean, I think it's a little maybe over. It's hard not to say McAvoy in the conversation because how many people you saw him play.
Oh, yes.
Or if you do want to race bend,
yeah.
like people like to do, Tatiana Maslany, I would absolutely.
Did you say
adore.
race bend? What'd you say?
People say where a character was originally one race, gender bend.
yeah.
Sorry, gender bended. people
Okay.
say that. I mean, that's a
I
term
think that's
out there.
irrelevant.
Yeah.
Who's the best person for the
I would
job?
love to see Maslany play it more than anybody.
The
for
Lawnmower
me.
Man.
To play the Lawnmower Man. It is called Lawnmower Man. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It
Lawnmower
just sucks
person.
because I would love to see her make that transformation because I think she's brilliant.
Lawnmower nondescript gender.
Or someone like maybe again McAvoy. But you saw him play so many people. It also gets kind of like, all right, I saw him play everybody. I don't want to see him play these people again.
That is a fantastic recasting, I think.
He does amazing work.
Yeah, so we'll go with that.
So McAvoy, if we want to keep
McAvoy
to
as the
Lawnmower
Lawnmower
Man,
Man.
as the Lawnmower Man. The Doctor, I am very fond of, and I'm glad he's away from the new Star Wars now. Oscar Isaacs, who played Poe Dameron. I would like to see him play the Professor in the movie, the one that does it, because I think he's good at playing intellectual and human at the same time, and the level of brilliance I think he could bring to it, dignity, and also like, hey, what the fuck did you just do? So the two of them I think are the main cast members that we would have to do. So for me,
Right.
those two, I think they would be very good together.
I can't see arguing with that. Although McAvoy would also be good as the professor,
True.
as the scientist.
Or if you want to get
Absolutely.
the dynamic duo back together, get him and Michael Fassbender, which they were incredibly good together
Wow.
as Professor X and Magneto.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We will see you next time if we're not raided, because that's always a possibility.
Yep.
All right. So, yeah. Well, what's the sexiest damn movie you ever seen?